The
Hello.
receptionist at the front desk smiled too brightly, like she was used to pretending people didn't arrive nervous. I wasn't nervous, just curious why the gift card my older brother gave me came with a wink and a "don't tell mom." The spa was cleaner and quieter than I expected. Late afternoon, with golden light sliding through the frosted glass walls. It smelled like eucalyptus and orange peel, the kind of place that makes you whisper without knowing why. I gave my name. The receptionist checked the list, nodded, then leaned toward the headset. "She's ready for him." She? Before I could ask, the side door opened. And there she was, hair tied back tight, burgundy uniform, no smile, eyes like she was already 10 steps ahead of me. Not young, but not old either, late 30s maybe, with a kind of quiet sharpness that made everything else in the room feel soft. "Follow me," she said. Her voice was low, practiced, like she could make someone freeze or melt with the same word. We walked through a narrow corridor, her footsteps silent on the polished floor. She didn't look back once, just stopped at a room with a glass panel, opened the door and stepped aside. "Undress to your comfort. Face down. I'll knock before I enter." Then she was gone. The room was dim. A massage table with black leather. Clean white towel folded neatly. Soft music, something with flutes and ocean sounds. I hesitated, then undressed, keeping boxers on, and laid down like she said. My skin felt cold against the table. I adjusted the towel across my lower back and exhaled. Then 3 soft knocks. The door opened, and I heard it click shut behind her. She didn't speak right away. The silence stretched long enough that I started to wonder if she was even moving. Then I felt it. Fingertips just beneath my shoulder blades. Firm, precise. "You're tense," she said quietly. I half laughed. "College finals. No talking during session," she said sharply, but not unkindly. "Rule number 1. I went still. She moved in slow, methodical lines down my back. No hesitation, just control. But as her hands pressed lower, just above the towel, I felt it. Not just touch. Pause, like she was waiting for something. Then her thumbs dug into the tension near my hips, and I flinched involuntarily. "You okay? You said no talking." She chuckled once, very softly. "Right. Rule number 2. Listen more than you speak." The pressure increased, and the heat from her hands bled into my muscles. I closed my eyes, and for a few minutes it was just that quiet, warmth, slow breath. But then came the noise. Voices. From outside the room. Not flute music. Not relaxation sounds. 2 people. A man's voice, impatient. Loud enough to hear. "I'm here for my wife's session. You told me she was still inside. Sir, we just finished. She should be out any minute." I froze. Her hands stopped moving. She leaned down close to my ear. "Don't move. Don't breathe loud." My pulse quickened. Footsteps outside. A shadow blocked the light under the door. The man's voice again, sharper now. Whose voice was that I heard just now? Then silence. The steps moved away, then stopped again. We waited and waited. Then she straightened, slowly. "I'll have to cut this short," she whispered. I started to push up, but she pressed a hand flat between my shoulder blades. "Don't. Not yet." I swallowed. She reached for the towel, adjusted it lower, just slightly. Her fingers grazed bare skin in a way that felt deliberate. "Trust me," she said, softer this time. "I know what I'm doing." Then she stepped away. "Your session is complete. Take your time getting dressed." No footsteps this time, just the soft click of the door. I stayed lying there for a long minute, face down, not sure if I'd imagined half of it. When I finally got dressed and opened the door, the corridor was empty. The receptionist was gone. The man, whoever he was, nowhere in sight. But on the front desk, beside my gift card, was a folded square of paper. Inside, in clean black ink, "Come back tomorrow. Same time. I'll make it up to you." The next evening, I stood outside the spa's back entrance at 8:59 p.m. It was darker here. No glowing signs, no clients in white robes sipping cucumber water. Just a single security light buzzing overhead and the silence of a building that had technically closed an hour ago. I wasn't even sure if the note had been for Raal. Then I heard the click. The door opened an inch, and her face appeared in the gap. No uniform, just a long black cardigan over leggings, her hair down, slightly damp. "You're on time," she said. "Good." She pulled the door fully open and stepped aside. Inside, everything was dimmer than yesterday. The usual reception lights were off. Only a few soft floor lamps illuminated the hallway. Music still played, but different now, slower, deeper. The smell was the same, eucalyptus and something faintly floral. She didn't speak again as we walked, just nodded for me to follow. Instead of the main massage room, she led me to a smaller one at the far end of the corridor, one I hadn't seen before. It had no windows, no frosted glass, just soft, amber light and a single massage table, already prepared. On the table, folded neatly, was a black towel. Not the standard white. It stood out immediately. She saw me looking. "Special sessions get their own setup," she said. "Take off your shirt." I hesitated. She raised an eyebrow. "You trust me or not?" I pulled the shirt off. She nodded at the table, face down. As I laid onto the table, she draped the black towel across my lower back with care. Felt heavier than the last one. Or maybe that was just the weight of the silence. Her hands were slower this time, not clinical, purposeful. She didn't speak as she worked from my shoulders downward, just the sound of breath and skin. Occasionally, she'd press down just enough to make me flinch, and she'd always pause afterward, like she was listening. "You're more relaxed tonight," she finally said, her fingers tracing the edge of the towel. "Maybe," I muttered into the headrest. "Maybe not. No talking, remember?" I smiled, unseen. She leaned lower, close enough for me to feel the warmth of her breath near my ear. "Rule 3. If you want me to stop, you say red. Anything else, I decide." Before I could answer, a phone rang. Not mine, not hers. A landline somewhere down the hall. She froze. It rang twice, 3 times, then stopped. She exhaled slowly. "They're not supposed to be here this late." "Who?" She didn't answer. Instead, she moved quickly, adjusted the towel slightly, just a bit lower, and pressed her palm flat against my spine. "Stay still." She walked to the door, opened it just a crack, and peeked into the hallway. Voices. One male, one female. Footsteps echoing softly. Left the lights on? Maybe someone forgot to clock out. I held my breath. She shut the door silently and turned back to me. Then, out of nowhere, she unwrapped a silk ribbon from her wrist, dark red, and placed it beside my head on the table. "If this is too much," she said, her voice quieter now, "just pick it up and leave." I didn't move. She stepped behind me again, and her hands slid down my back. Slower, deeper. The towel shifted. We were one move away from something else entirely. And then, a knock. Sharp. 3 times. She jerked back. I sat up. A voice called from outside the door. "Gabrielle? You're still here." It was the receptionist. She swore under her breath, snatched the red ribbon off the table, and shoved it into her pocket. "I have to deal with this," she whispered, already moving to the door. "Get dressed. Wait 5 minutes, then go through the back." She opened the door a crack and stepped outside, pulling it shut behind her. Through the thin wall, I could hear them talking. The receptionist's voice was chipper. Hers was tight, controlled. As I dressed quickly, I noticed something tucked beneath the black towel. A small white business card, with only one handwritten line on the back. You still don't know what I'm offering. 945, third floor. Elevator code 1402. The elevator doors groaned open at the third floor. It was quiet up here. No music, no scent of oils or incense. Just an unlit hallway lined with locked office doors and frosted glass. This wasn't part of the spa, at least not the part meant for clients. I checked the time. 9:44 p.m. The carpet muffled my steps as I walked to the last door on the left. Suite 312. The door looked just like the others. Plain, silver handle, no sign. But when I knocked once, it opened from the inside. She stood there barefoot, wearing a loose gray t-shirt and black yoga pants. Her hair was tied up carelessly. No makeup, no perfume. Just her. Real. You came, she said. I'm not great at ignoring instructions, I replied. She almost smiled, not quite, then stepped aside. The room was small, empty except for a second massage table, low lighting, and a mini fridge humming in the corner. No towels, no music, no cameras. I don't use this space often, she said, locking the door behind us. Only when things can't happen downstairs. Her voice was lower tonight, slower. I sat on the edge of the table. She stood across from me, arms folded. Why me? I asked. You didn't flinch. I flinched a lot. Not the way others do. I didn't know how to answer that, so I didn't. She stepped closer and placed something beside me on the table. The same black towel. Folded. Clean. Symbolic now. What does this mean? I asked. It means, she said, this isn't part of your gift certificate anymore. I reached for the towel but didn't touch it. Her hand landed gently on mine. Stopped it. You can still leave. I won't ask again. We were inches apart. The air shifted between us, like a weight pushing forward. Outside the room, a loud voice suddenly broke the stillness. I'm telling you, someone's using this floor again. We froze. Heavy footsteps approached. Keys jangled. She swore under her breath and turned off the lights in one quick motion. Darkness. She grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward the corner behind a tall supply cabinet. A key slid into the door. The knob turned slightly but then stopped. Another voice joined in, lower. Just check in the morning. If someone's up here now, they'll be long gone. The keys jingled again. Steps faded. Silence returned. She exhaled, her back against mine in the dark. I whispered, You're going to get in trouble. Already did. A year ago. What happened? I crossed a line with someone who didn't understand what it meant. She turned slowly until we were facing each other. Her hand found mine again, but not to stop me this time. It was a gesture, a choice. Then, she touched the black towel, lifted it, and placed it in my hands. You're different, she said. The room felt warmer now, not because of the lighting, but because everything had shifted. The towel no longer felt like a prop or a game. It was an invitation, and I accepted it. I leaned forward, brushing her arm with mine. Her breath caught, but before anything else could happen, her phone vibrated loudly on the table. The screen lit up the room for a moment. A name flashed, Julian Owner. She snatched the phone and stared at the screen. Damn it, she whispered. He never calls this late. She silenced it, turned back to me. Her tone was serious now. I need to go. He's here sometimes. Checking rooms. I grabbed my jacket, but as I reached the door, she handed me a folded piece of paper. Don't open it here. Not until you're in the elevator. Then she opened the door a crack, scanned the hallway, and nodded. Go. Quickly. Same way you came. I didn't look back until I was in the elevator. Only when the doors closed did I unfold the paper. Inside, handwritten. Tomorrow, 6:15 a.m. rooftop access. No one will be there. Come empty-handed. The rooftop was colder than I expected at 6 in the morning. Wind slid between the buildings, brushing against my skin as I stepped through the steel maintenance door she'd left cracked open. The city hadn't fully woken yet, just a low hum below, like the world was inhaling before the day started. She was already there, leaning against the concrete ledge, wearing a long coat, steam rising from a travel cup in her hands. Hair loose, eyes distant. You came, she said without turning. I nodded. You're making a habit of saying that. A hint of a smile. Tired but real. She turned to face me and handed me a second cup. Black coffee, no lid. I took it, my fingers wrapped around the warmth, but my stomach was tense. We're not safe here, are we? I asked. No, she said quietly. But nowhere is anymore. She walked to the far corner of the rooftop, away from the edge, where 2 chairs and a folded massage mat were set up under a makeshift tarp. She gestured for me to sit. This is where I come when I can't breathe down there, she said. No mirrors, no whispers, no locks. I sat, but couldn't relax. You think someone's watching you? I know they are, she said. Julian saw my keycard used last night. He checked the logs. 3rd floor at 9:45. My heart jumped. What did you say? That it must have been a glitch. She looked at me then, direct, unguarded. I've covered for myself before, but if anyone else mentions your name, or if there's even a whisper that a client was with me in that room, her voice trailed off. The wind picked up. That's when I did it. I reached into my jacket, pulled out my phone, unlocked it, and held down the power button. Screen off. Completely. She watched. That's your first lie today? She asked. No. I already texted my brother and told him I'm out of town. That was the first. She nodded slowly. Why? I don't know, I said, but I want to find out. We sat in silence for a while. The city started to glow with the early sun. She sipped her coffee and finally spoke again, voice softer. 3 years ago, I was married to the man who owns the spa. That caught me off guard. Julian. She nodded. It was perfect on paper. He funded everything. Said the place was mine. Until it wasn't. What happened? I started doing sessions that weren't in the manual. Energy work, breath therapy, touch that didn't follow corporate flowcharts. Her lips curled bitterly. He said I blurred boundaries. Clients complained. Or maybe he just didn't like that I wasn't asking permission anymore. I said nothing. Let her speak. He divorced me. Let me keep my job, ironically. As long as I stayed in the lines. As long as I never made anyone feel confused again. She turned toward me, eyes sharp now. And then you walked in, and flinched at the right moments, and didn't run. Something moved between us again. Not tension now, recognition. She stood and stepped toward me, slowly, like testing the floor before each step. Then, without a word, she reached into her pocket and pulled out the same red ribbon she'd shown me in the massage room. She wrapped it around my wrist. Tie it yourself, she said. If you still want this. I tied it. Tight. The moment stretched, then shattered. The rooftop door slammed open. A man stepped out. Tall, dark coat, phone in hand. Julian. She froze. So did I. He didn't see us at first. Just glanced around, talking on the phone. Don't see anyone up here yet. Probably nothing. Just open the spa at 7. I'll check the cameras myself. He walked along the far edge, stopped just before our corner, looked out across the city, still distracted, then turned. His eyes passed over us for half a second too long. She stepped in front of me, calm, almost rehearsed. I just needed fresh air, she said. He stared, then narrowed his eyes. And him. He followed me up. He's a new employee. Orientation day. I nodded slowly. First day. There was a long pause. Julian's eyes moved to the red ribbon on my wrist. He said nothing, just nodded once, then turned around and left the rooftop, the door swinging shut behind him. Silence again. We stood there, breath shallow. You think he bought that? I asked. No, she said. But he won't stop us. Not yet. Then when? She looked at me. Tomorrow. One last time. Before this ends or breaks. She slipped her hand into mine. No gloves. No hesitation. I'll send you a room number. If you don't show up, I'll understand. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The text came at 5:46 a.m. Room 408. No keycard needed. Leave your phone. Don't knock. Just enter. No signature. She didn't need one. I left my phone in the glove box and walked across the empty lot behind the spa, the pavement still slick from the rain. The side door was unlocked, just like before. Hallways dark. Alarm off. Everything felt suspended, like the entire building was holding its breath. I climbed the stairs instead of taking the elevator. My heart pounded harder with each step. Room 408 was at the far end of the upper hallway, a converted treatment room with no windows and no nameplate on the door. The handle was cool to the touch. I hesitated, then turned it. Inside, the lights were low, dim enough to feel hidden, bright enough to see her standing barefoot beside the table, wrapping her hair into a knot. She wore a black linen robe, loosely tied. No music, just the hum of city silence. The door clicked shut behind me. Neither of us said a word. She gestured toward the table. A black towel waited on top, folded sharp and square. I stepped forward and undressed silently, piece by piece. She didn't turn away, didn't blink. Her eyes followed every motion, like she wasn't memorizing my body. She was memorizing the moment. When I lay down, she placed the towel across my hips, but slower this time. Her fingers grazed my skin longer than necessary. Then, she leaned in close, her lips near my ear. "There's no rule today," she whispered. Her hands started at my shoulders, working downward in firm, rhythmic pressure. But this wasn't about release. It was about attention. Each movement precise, like she was carving something invisible into my skin. I turned my head slightly and looked up at her. She paused. I said, "This isn't just about the towel anymore." She smiled, not like before. Not coy. Sad. Clear. Whole. "No," she said. "It's not." And then, quietly, she pulled the towel lower. Lower than before. No hesitation. The air between us shifted, no longer charged, but understood. My hand reached for hers, and she didn't pull away. She bent over the table and rested her forehead lightly against mine. "I'm not asking you to stay," she whispered. "Just to remember." I nodded once, and then I kissed her. Nothing urgent, just real. No one spoke after that. A week later, I still haven't gone back to the spa. I walk past it sometimes on my way to work. Early, when the sun's just brushing the glass panels and the city isn't fully awake yet. But I don't go in. Not anymore. Instead, every Friday morning, I take the same side street, past the alley, around the back. There's a window on the third floor, small, square, always fogged from the inside. And every week at 6:15 sharp, The light behind that window flickers on for 5 seconds, then off. It's enough. A signal, a memory, a ritual. And once, just once, a red ribbon was tied to the inside handle.
Bye-bye.